Hi, this is Frequency Bone Summer Music Connection 5, Session 4, Part 2 of the middle school and high school years, or the junior high and senior high years. In the last video, I was ending talking about if someone's starting to get serious, they start looking into more of the literature that is very helpful in getting us to other levels of playing with the guidance of a good teacher. Now, how much? Let's say someone's starting to get serious when they're 11. Well, I was serious the minute I picked it up. But that isn't always the case. Okay? Should they not practice too much? Do you try to stop someone like that? Well, no one could stop me. They really couldn't, and they didn't want to. They were thinking, wow, that's terrific. He knows what he wants. That's nice for parents, you know. They're not going to worry too much. Oh, he knows what he wants. He knows what he wants, and he's practicing and a lot. And I had a very supportive household that way. They didn't demand me to get, extraordinary grades in school. They knew my focus was on music and getting as good as I possibly could on my instrument. If someone does have to divide their time up a lot, let's say they are just as serious, but they also want to do really, really well at school, that's going to take some planning. And like I was saying in the other video, there's going to be things you're going to have to cut out. That's a decision. I know in the trombone choir that I conduct at New England Conservatory Prep Division, one trombone player isn't going to be there next year. I felt really bad because I know he's very serious in science and sports too. Very bright young man. And I was hoping that he would still be in choir. And then some people might be in sports, and then they have to decide, you know what? I'm going to focus my time more on this. Especially when it starts to get into the 10th grade. And the parents are starting to think about, wow, college, if that's someone's destiny to go to college, which it seems this day and age, it's even more important because of the drastic pay change that happens once you even get a master's degree. If you're going to be a band director or a music teacher, and even I found out any job, if they find out you have, depending on what degree, you will get more income. So I know there's a lot to consider on certain practical levels. And I've seen people. This one person I had, he was a good player, and he really just started to, really get serious in his senior year of high school because he knew he'd have to start auditioning for colleges. And he did very well and got into a couple of very good schools. And the improvement that he made in that short amount of time was quite a bit. And so sometimes we need things to kind of push us out the doors, so to speak. And this is different for everybody. But how much time should someone practice? Can you even say that? What should they practice and how much time should they practice? You can even divide it up. How much should they practice on each individual thing? Well, if someone's going to practice 2 hours a day, if someone's serious, really serious in high school, I don't want to put how much I practiced in high school, okay? Because it was probably much more than what most people practiced. But if someone's really serious, I can't really believe that they're going to make the kind of progress they need to in less than an hour and a half to 2 hours a day. Yes, that's in high school. Absolutely. And maybe they're going to have to make the decision, you know, maybe I can't get all A's. Maybe I'll have to have a B thrown in there. You know, if they're really serious about playing, you have to divide your time up. So anyway, this is a consideration. There's always, hopefully, maybe there's a little time before school. I know my brother used to start practicing at 6:30 in the morning in the house and then leave for school at 7:30. Some people, I realize, have to be at school at 7 or 7:30. That's really early. And so I used to practice on my lunch hour sometimes, or my study periods. I was in the band room. You know, I ate lunch, okay, but then I divided the time up and had some practice time. And so there are little pockets of time throughout the day that you can do 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So let's say you're one of these people who are getting more serious. You know, you're going to find some time to do your slurs. You're going to find 15, 20 minutes to work on your Koprash or your Arbans, right, for articulation. Your Tyrell, all these different studies, your Blazevich. You're going to spend some time with the Blazevich, 10 minutes looking into new clefs. You're going to work on your solo. And for those of you who are auditioning for, you know, good music schools and conservatory type level schools, then you're going to probably have to also be working on your excerpts. So time management is very, very important. However, to just think that you have to cram all of your time into learning excerpts, into learning a solo, and not actually take care of the business of getting better as a musician and an instrumentalist, you might cheat yourself a little bit. That's why I say make sure you get some good fundamental routine in. I mean, I would say at least an hour on the routines. You know, the Koprash, the Blazevich, the Roshus, the Arbans. And I would then take, if you're doing 2 hours, then have the other hour be working on your excerpts and solos. And you might not be able to do all of them every single day. Now, time management is something throughout every level of playing that's important. For example, someone might want to get better in their high range. Okay? How much should they practice the high range a day? Well, do they have to practice their high range every day is a question. Because, like certain physical training, you don't have to lift weights every day. Maybe you lift weights one day and do your aerobics another day. Well, maybe you work on your high range one day, work on your low range the next day, along with the other things. And you might divide it up like that. And your loud playing, and your soft playing. So this is something that the student and the teacher need to look into. You need to look at fatigue levels. You know, you start to find yourself really getting tired. Take that break. And don't let yourself think, well, it's only been a half hour, I shouldn't be tired. If you're a little tired, take 5 minutes. Take 10 minutes and come back. And if it's still feeling a little weak, then do something maybe in the mid and low range. Articulate short down there. Play some legato down there. Make sure your air is moving. Because during this time, of course, of development, you're getting more inside of the mechanics of what it's going to take for you to be able to do what you want to do musically. Okay? Notice how I said that. Because we're going to need a technique to be able to play our music. And they can be fused together. So when you're playing your slurs, you should be thinking of a fluid rhythm. Maybe some fluid sound. I've talked about this before. I don't mind metronomes, but don't be a metronome. You know, I wish they would all have timbral change settings on the metronome. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice to something like that? I know one of you whizzes are going to think about that. It's probably already been thought about. It's probably something on your phone you can download or something. Some app. So, these are the kinds of things that when you start integrating them, you can start to see another development happen technically and musically. You start to feel you have more skill. Set up little goals for yourself. You can have short-term goals, mid-goals, and long-term goals. Let's say you're in 10th grade. Well, why don't you say, I'm going to get through a Blazevich every week. That's a short-term goal. I'm going to get through 10 row shoes. 10 Bordonis. I know some people really can't stand to call them row shoes. Bordonis, then. That's you're going to get 10 of them in a month. Or let's say you're going to spend some time really thinking about your playing each day. And then let's say there's a solo. Maybe you're good enough in high school to start looking at the David or the Larsen concertino, the Zarowski sonatine, the Saint-Saëns cavatine, pieces like this. There's so many great Baroque type solos, okay? There's the Marcello cello sonatas, and I love the Vivaldi, and there's Telemann, and all these things. They're great. They really are very, very good for your playing. And Morceau Symphonique by Guillemot. Okay, there's the Hindemith Sonata. A lot of these things people are starting to work on. The Grundal as well. And so, say, okay, that's going to be my solo for this year. The whole thing. Just not a movement, the whole thing. Maybe you're going to do some recitals at your place of worship, or for a family gathering, or a senior citizens home. Maybe your band director will have you play a solo with the band. Maybe you'll do it with orchestra in your high school or your youth orchestra. I was lucky. I soloed every year with my band in high school, and I soloed with my youth orchestra. With my youth orchestra, I played great solos. I played the Bloch Symphony for trombone and orchestra, and I played the Creston Fantasy. I've also played the Grundal with orchestra and the Albrechtsberger alto trombone concerto. I played it on tenor with orchestra, and I did all that in high school. Plus Morceau Symphonique, Andante and Allegro, all these kinds of things. So these are goals you can set for yourself. I recommend that you tape record yourself. I don't believe it has to be every day. You might go through a period of that. But do it. It's great. I used to have a great time when I lived on the farm. I used to tape record myself playing one part of a duet, the Blazevich duets actually, and then I'd play the other part. So I'd record one part, then turn that on and play over the top of it. Got to play duets, all sorts of things.